Welcome to Music is the Drug, the Cowboy Junkies podcast. I'm Dave Bowler, and I wrote the biography of Cowboy Junkies, Music is the Drug. This is the second part of our special conversation with Michael Timmins. It marks the release of Cowboy Junkies' new album, Such Ferocious Beauty, which, as I said last time, ranks with the very best material of their career. After we covered the themes behind the album and the first 4 songs in part 1, there are 6 songs still to cover in this second part. So let's dive straight in with the final track on side 1 of the vinyl, Hell Is Real. Hell is real. This puts me, every time I hear it, it puts me in mind of John Lennon Plastic Ono Band.
Oh, funny. Okay. That's good.
It's got that sort of raw, naked, slightly scary element to it.
Oh, that's good. I mean, this is the first song I wrote for the record, really. This is when I went up in the summer of 2020. This is the one I came back with. And again, at the time, I wasn't sure whether it was going to, often I'll write a few songs and they won't make the record, and they'll go in other directions. So, but I always kind of came back to it and listened to it and go, I really like that, and it never went away. And then when Margot got it, Margot, this is a song, a recording that we did up at the barn. The guitar and the vocal is all done up there. And I think the whole recording's done up there, actually. And I think she sang it twice, once with one voice, the really high voice, and then the other one with the voice more in the key. And it was like, okay, that's it. We got it, So it's just one of those songs that kind of just, I didn't want to overwork it. And Margot got it so quickly, and she listened back to it and said, "Yeah, that's it." So again, a simple song in many ways, but yeah, it's supposed to have a sense of ominousness to it for sure.
How close are we to the rapture? Have you got a time
there? Yeah. Well, and the funny thing was, so we just finished recording, and we were touring somewhere. Where were we? I think we were sort of in the, it's not deep south, but we were like in, South Carolina, North Carolina area, and driving down the highway, and there's this huge billboard, "Hell is real." That's all it said. It's like, oh my God. Unfortunately, it was going by so fast, I wasn't able to get a picture of it. But I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, we may be in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly. Hell is real. If you don't believe me, look around. Yeah.
Jesus is coming, ready or not. That's another one of those lines that's going to stay around with you forever, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that line. This whole song it's supposed to be quite literal or quite ironic, depending on how you want to read it, So, and it's just, and the key to this song really is the I'm scared and I'm lonely, that I'm scared and I'm angry. That to me is, I'm scared and I'm empty. That's the whole point of this song, and then when people get to those points in their lives, in their situations, they reach for things, right? They have to reach for things. Some reach for Jesus, some reach for, unfortunately, some will reach for an automatic weapon, and some will turn their life around, and some won't. So it's just those are the key lines that is really what the song's about. I'm scared and I'm empty. Jesus is coming, ready or not.
is real, hell is hot. It's almost. It's also that stuff is very much a kind of what you go through when you are losing someone. You know, when you are losing a parent, being scared of what's to come, and that was on another record. Um, you know, that being scared and angry and lonely and empty, all of that stuff comes around at the same time as well, doesn't it?
Well, for sure, and you don't even necessarily recognize that. You know, you're when you're in the middle of taking care, especially of a parent that's dying or you know being with them a lot, then you know you don't necessarily even recognize those emotions. It's kind of afterwards, but yeah, for sure, those are all there. That sort of certainly the fear for sure of you know for them and for you and and you know there's a loneliness too. You know, even though there's six of us, you know, you all, especially a parent, I think, especially in large families, you deal with you have different relationships. Everybody has a different relationship to their parent and to their mother or father. So it's a different you know it's a different feeling for everybody. You know, some obviously everybody cares about the person, but there's different levels of that, you know, and different dimensions to it. So there's a certain loneliness there too that you can't really explain to somebody else that you know this is what I'm going through.
Shadows too. I mean, it's a great performance. I think everybody plays really beautifully on this.
This is weird. You know, this song is just the strangest song of all the songs on the record. And it's funny you say that because this song is the most unique way of recording a song that we've ever done. And it started out again with just acoustic guitar and me and Margot, and with me kind of doing the progression on the acoustic guitar and very acoustic sort of song. And so I brought it in, and initially we were going to keep it very sparse and keep it sort of as it was. And then Al had an idea. He said, "Let me just try something." So he tried a bass idea, I think, and I said, "Okay, that's cool, that works." And then Pete came in and said, "Well, you know what, let me just try something here." So he tried it, and he sort of did that groove he did, that sort of the weird kind of hip hoppy groove. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, and Margaret had already done her vocal and everything, and so really she'd done her vocal to my guitar, so we were just adding all this underneath it. And then but Pete's part sort of was like, well, I really love that. It feels great, but now everything we put on here doesn't make sense. So we almost, I think we stripped everything back again, and I added a different guitar part, and then Al added a different bass part, and then I think eventually Margot came in and actually added a different vocal to it, but we ended up going with, because she sort of heard the song after it was finished, and she had this vocal that she had sung to an acoustic guitar only, and she said, "Well, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. Like I'd like to try it again." So she came in and did another vocal part, but I ended up going back to her original vocal. So she's basically, her vocal is really singing to an acoustic guitar with all this, but everything was added underneath it afterwards. So it's a very weird way to go about doing a song, but I love the way it ended up. It was kind of one of those sort of searching, as far as the production of it goes, was kind of searching on how to do it, what works best with it. And, but I love where it ended up.
I can sit here and watch as it all falls away into winter, and pretend I'm surprised by the darkening skies and the rain. Or I can sit here and wait for death to come upon me like a stranger. Sit here all night, the fog rolling in and getting thicker.
disappearing.
Shadows too. I mean, in a sense, it's the same kind of concept in putting together as Follower 2, because obviously it starts with a a poem by D.H. Lawrence in this case.
Yeah. So this was D.H. Lawrence wrote a series of poems when he was near his own death, and this Shadows was one of them. And it's a beautiful, beautiful poem. So I was reading those, and again thinking about my dad. Obviously, I was this is a very direct reference to him, and but there's an element of him sitting there, just sitting and watching, just sitting watching the world go by, and his life going by, and that's sort of the idea that I pulled from that poem, and then built the rest of it around my dad's experience. So it's a beautiful poem, and it's I love being able to do that, like bringing something forward like that. It's kind of cool.
It's a partner song, I suppose, to What I Lost in a way.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that it opens side 2, right? So it's What I Lost opens side 1, and Shadows open side 2, and that's intentional in many ways. So they are these What I Lost and Shadows 2 are the two most literal, direct references to my dad. The descriptions here in What I Lost and descriptions in Shadows are pretty much exactly. I'm writing about what I'm seeing. There's not a stretch here. and like in What I Lost, the idea here is it kind of shifts perspective, right? It starts with perspective from my dad's point of view, like What I Lost does. I woke up this morning, and this one is I can sit here and watch. That's my dad talking, but by the end of it, I'm the one. I can sit here and wait. I'm the one sitting there, and like in What I Lost, this is what I lost is what I lost. What I personally lost, not what he lost. So it's the same idea, same sort of structure. It flips perspective, and it sort of changes the situation around on the viewer, as opposed to the person, the character in the song.
The lines, the fog rolling in, getting thicker, and alone and disappearing. I mean, that is exactly the. It's not just the pain of watching somebody going through it. It's our curse that we're the only ones that know that we're the only species that knows that at some point that our turn next.
Yeah, I mean that was the hardest thing. There's obvious there's days with my dad where he was always afraid. He didn't know what was going on. And that was horrible. And there's nothing you can do because there's no reason there anymore. So you can't reason with them. You can't explain to them. Because that capacity isn't there anymore. So you kind of just have to sit there and just be with them and hope, watch them go through it, and hopefully, come out at one point. So yeah, that was definitely the hardest part of this was those days when or hours or whatever, when he really was kind of, when he got really into his dementia, he was just there. But it was that transitional time when he was kind of here, but kind of there. And he'd have bad days and good days, and, days where he could talk about, like, that's what I lost is. It's sort of like he actually said to me, I went to visit him one day, and he said, he actually literally said, I woke up this morning, I didn't know where I was. It's like, oh my gosh, like, it's terrifying, so that's sort of what this is about, for sure.
There's also that weird thing that goes on, when you're in the position of watching where you're desperate for it to end. And I don't know whether it's desperate for it to end to put him out of his misery, or you out of your own. And then at the same time, you want it to go on forever because you don't want him to go. It's such a weird time, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, very weird. You suddenly feel selfish, right? It's like, well, you think you wanting this to end for him, but and you do, but you want it to end for you too. It's like this is, but do you want it to end? It's just this weird it's the very hard emotions to figure out.
When you're writing this record and Ghosts as well, I mean, do you feel an extra sense of responsibility about the writing. I mean, yeah, when you're writing about, say, your kids or whatever, then that's your domain. But here you're writing about your parents, and you've got brothers and sisters. Do you feel any additional kind of responsibility to get it right, or I don't know if right's the right word, but you know what I mean?
Um, yeah, no, I know what you mean. Not really. Let me just think about that a second. I mean, the only extra, the element that I would, when writing about something like this, that you were going to share with, something obviously very important that you're going to share with your brothers and sisters or anybody, is that you want to make sure that it's good, that it's honest, that you can, whether it's accurate, that's so subjective. So, as we were just saying, one person's emotion and attachment is completely different than another's. So, all I can do is sort of, I know it'll be scrutinized a bit differently, because of the shared experience. So all I can do is just make sure that I think it's good, like it's okay, it's honest, it is a true reflection of my experience. And then, so if I had to defend it, I could defend it, but I don't really think about, I don't feel necessarily a responsibility, because I'm not really expressing anything for them. I'm expressing it for me. So.
Have been drawn, blades thirsty and keen, on the whetstone of anger and spleen.
That's not going to be a verse from a song from any other band except Cowboy Junkies.
Well, thank you. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we categorize this? I don't know. Yeah, and not just, again, it's the macro. We're back to the macro. Sort of looking at the world as a whole and trying to, just the where it is right now. Just this I don't know what it is, what we're in right now. This bizarre world of anger. It's just so much anger, and yeah, everybody seems to have drawn their knife at this point. I wish it was just knives we've drawn, but it was more poetic to say knives rather than guns. So that this is what it's about. It's really just about, I go and I drop into little personal verses of individual characters, but it's really about that opening verse is basically the song. That's what it's about.
Anger and spleen, I mean, that is the currency of the age.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what gets attention. And that's what we were just talking about, intelligence and well thought out arguments. And they don't really matter anymore. It's irrelevant. Like, you'll get gutted if you go into any sort of competition, whether it be a election or, a debate or whatever with that, you're going nowhere. You're done. So it's very hard to beat that anger and spleen with well thought out arguments, because it doesn't get through.
It feels like they're drawing the curtains on the age of enlightenment.
This is like a really dark, people probably think Hell Is Real is a dark song, but to me there's an irony in that song. This is not ironic at all. This is just downright pessimism.
I think of it more as documentary.
No, okay, fair enough. Reality, yes, okay, yeah.
That hope is fear in disguise. I mean, that really just leaps out and punches you in the gut when you're listening to the song.
That I stole that off of who did I steal it off of? I stole it off of somebody who said it. It was some smart person, and when they said it, I thought it stopped me too. So I thought, well, what do you mean hope is fear in disguise? Like, and then I began to think about it, and it's right, because hope is the future, right? Hope is something that doesn't exist, right? It's about the future, which doesn't really exist, right? All exists is right now. And so really to be craving or desiring this thing in the future that doesn't exist, it means there's something right now that isn't right, that it's fear, right? Your fear, there's this fearfulness about now and about the present and about where I am or where the world is or whatever, how you can break it down into micro and macro. But so it's kind of like, right. Because we all, everybody else comes back to, well, you always have to have hope. You always have to have hope. It's like, well, do you? Like how about let's making it right now? Let's not hope for something to be better. Let's just make it better. So I wrote it down and I used it. It's sort of this idea of not dealing with what's in front of us and just hoping that in the future, this non-existent time, it'll become better, right? So that's sort of the idea of that. It's just like, man, you got to deal with it. You got to deal with right now, right? Right now is what you got to deal with. It's not. It's the future. Who knows? Again, back to impermanence, right?
Keep me harmless, keep me alone, keep me lamenting all that is gone. Shown and sullen, injured and burned, he tends his wounds, he waits his turn. Knives have been drawn, knives have been drawn. What I fear is bleeding too much loss. What I hope will be too high a cost. Now I'm seeing that doubt in her eyes. She just now learned that hope is fear in disguise. Knives have been drawn. Knives have been drawn.
It's another one of the co-writes with Al. How did that one come together?
This is weird. That he gave me these tracks of these multi-layered bass lines, and I couldn't figure it out. I said, I don't know, like I have no fucking idea what you're doing here, Al. But they're multi-track, so I was able to separate out one or two of the lines, and the basic line that Al plays on this is the one that I used. So I kind of just it's just a groove song, right? And it's just such a cool groove. So I just kind of took that groove and wrote the song on top of it. So it ended up being really simple. It was a very complicated part that I kind of found one element and then wrote to it. So it's a very classic Al groove. Again, it's kind of an old school junkie kind of thing, just sort of sitting on a groove and playing through it. It'll be fun this one I can see really developing live for sure.
Mike Tyson's another one written with Al.
Every man has a plan until he's punched in the mouth, and then he starts to look about. No, some look within, some look without. The search begins, as do the doubts. Here it comes, here it comes.
Yeah, this is the most complicated song on the record for sure. So this one, I'm trying to remember again, this, like Flood in a way, Al gave me a very complex musical. It's all just it's the same section repeated, right? It's very similar in that sense. It's sort of a circular song. So it's easy for me to write to, but recording it was very difficult. And again, Margot had a real tough time with the vocal, just trying to figure out where she landed in it. Is it the time, the actual time signature of the song is really weird. So it's kind of, it's not, which is not our best. It's there's too much math involved, so which isn't best when it comes to us playing, because you have to think too much. So it's a bit weird, like this one. And I think of them all, this is when we did the most in post production with the mix, trying to sort of sort through all this stuff and trying to figure out how it worked. It's not my favorite. It's like, it's kind of, Al really likes it. Art was a big fan of it, so we kept it. It's definitely not my favorite one on the record, but I think it came out really cool. It's an interesting album song, basically. I don't think we'll ever play it live. I think there's way too many elements to it, and I don't think we'll ever be able to figure it out how to do it live.
I mean, that bass line, it sets up a very eerie kind of to feel to at the start, and the cymbals do the same. And then there's this lovely acoustic guitar figure against all of that. It's just nice juxtaposition.
Yeah, I do love that. Like, as I say, that was all done in post, like in the mixing. Like Al and Joby really brought all that out. So all these parts were recorded for it. And when I was trying to figure out what to do, like what to add in these instrumental sections, I sort of was fooling around with all sorts of different guitar ideas, and loud guitar, quiet guitar, and then that what you hear, that's a ukulele. So it felt like that sort of, it was almost like a juxtaposing this very delicate instrument on this very ominous sort of musical structure. So it seemed to really work. It just gave it another quirky element, right? That kind of, in some ways, brought the song together for me in a way. But again, that was Al and Joby sort of figured out where to place it and where, to bring it out like that, and it worked really good.
That's pretty apocalyptic.
That's spring. That's spring. That's exactly that little verse there. All the wasps come alive, and there's whistling again in the evening sky. Here it comes. Here it comes. That's just basically the coming of spring. That's so funny that it does sound ominous, because wasps, of course, are always ominous in books. And what's that classic book, The Wasp? There's a very great nasty book by an English writer.
Ian Banks. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that book is like. So I associated with that, but basically it was literally, I mean, again, this is how literal things come into play. I was up in Eugenia. It was March, and we had a few really warm days, and I had a fireplace in the place I was writing, and so I decided, I'm gonna light a fire, and I went out and grabbed some logs off the wood pile that had been out there all winter, and I picked up a log, and sure enough, I was bitten by a wasp. It's like, oh shit! It was just waking up, right? It'd been hibernating in there the whole time, so that came in.
The every man has a plan until he's punched in the mouth. There's something appropriate about Mike Tyson being the modern day Confucius. So,
oh, isn't it great? I think it's that it's such a great. I hear that all the time. I don't know what his exact quote is, but it's something like that. I think it's punched in the nose or something like that. But that Mike Tyson said, and it is, obviously he meant it quite literally. It's Mike Tyson. But it's such a great. It sums it up. So it sums up life so beautifully.
It also put me in mind of B's song. You can always see it coming, but you can never stop it. It's got that same sense.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, it's here it comes, right? It's just it's coming. You can't stop it.
I could care less about.
So a match. I mean, apart from the fact that it's a great song, I think this is the best recording that you've ever done.
Oh my gosh.
But it's one of those songs that's got a certain, I don't know, that magic dust over the top of it. I think.
Oh, that's great. That's good. I'm glad.
I was just saying that, I mean, Margot's phrasing on this, I mean, Sinatra would die for the way she sings this. I mean, it's fantastic. And then, you know, Pete as well is amazing on it.
You know, I'm glad you picked up, especially on Margot. So this song is the recording of this, the basic acoustic guitar and Margot's vocal is again from the barn. Like that's just her and I playing together, right? And so we're working on this song, and it was, you know, trying to figure out how to do it and then one day we just hit it, like, oh my God, that's it. And I remember listening to it back that night, just, you know, me and her on acoustic guitar. And here you go. That is like the best vocal you will ever do. Like that. And again, the phrasing is just so perfect. And the way you know, dig into certain lines and let the lines go. And I thought we have to use this. Like initially my idea was just to use it just by itself. Just the acoustic guitar and Margot. And then again, you know, Al said, well, let me try something. And Pete wanted to try something. So we began to add stuff to it. And the line the bass line that Al added was so great. And it was like, okay, that just gives it a whole other element. And then Pete came up with this sort of weird, you know, George of the Jungle sort of like, I don't know, this really kind of tribal sort of thing. So I was like, okay, this was great. But we never touched the acoustic guitar or Margot's vocal. We just kept it. And again, everything was built around this sort of vibe. So I really love the song, and it's a really strange song, but I love the performance. I just love the performance on it. So I'm glad you picked up on that, because it's, I really like it for those reasons too. And it was, again, a hard one to mix. We couldn't find a good mix on it. And then finally, Joby found a good place to have everything set.
I can still make you sad. I guess that's a good thing. But my life comes apart whenever you're missing, and I move back towards you one step at a time. Heartbreak again, your hand in mine. When it's like a mountain, absorb it as a sea, steadfast like a forest.
When we did the Songs from the Recollection podcast, I mean, we talked about that Crazy Horse looseness. This doesn't sound like Crazy Horse, but I mean, this is exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Like, it's not perfect, you know. It's like, you know, it probably changes tempo here and there, and it's just everybody going for it, you know. It's just like just throwing in, you know. It's just like, okay, let's give into the song and see where it goes. And so I really love that sort of that as you say, that magic dust, that fairy dust. I think there was a phrase that Dylan used for like his I think Blonde on Blonde recordings. The quicksilver, I think he called it that quicksilver feel or something like that. You know, where you can never actually grasp, you can never find it, you can never grasp it. It just sort of you go to reach for it and it disappears. And so I'm glad that came across.
That bass line, it really isn't very Al, but it's a great addition.
Yeah, exactly. I thought so too. I thought, wow, this is yeah, it's way too energetic. But I think it works great.
And the guitar solo as well.
Yeah, okay, that's good. You know, that one I wasn't sure of, and I wanted to redo it, and both Al and Pete said, no, that's great. You know, like just keep it. It's perfect for it. So I wasn't crazy about my tone on it, and but you know, they sort of convinced me to keep it, so I did. So
that sounds great.
Oh, good. There's times when you have to listen to others around, you know, because I could do some guitar solos for 3 months. So.
get your attention. Leave the flannel and the pillows. I let you know your luminous beam, scorching the heavens, screaming out to me.
I mean, a lot of that song feels sort of very personal, episodes from your own experience.
It is, it's that's funny you say that, because it's, this is probably the one song on the record that is in some ways, parts of it anyways. This song is kind of a mishmash of lots of different ideas, but certainly there's, especially the back end of this last half of the song is about Patty, me and Patty. And so that, it's probably the only song on the record that's like that. I used to write whole albums about that for her. But it's very, so it's a call out to her, really, in many ways.
But the fireworks warehouse, I mean, that seems to go back to Hard to Build, what man regards as evil, God could care less about.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that line. Again, it was like the song itself. It came really quickly and just sort of like, I wrote it and I thought, does this make any sense? Like grammatically, is it? And then I just thought, who cares? Just use it. Let other people figure it out. It sort of has the feel of what I want to say. I don't know if it actually says it, but it kind of works. So yeah.
And again, just coming back to the way Margot sings it when it's the last verse. I mean, that couldn't be any more perfect, I don't think.
When that throw match through your fireworks warehouse to learn what man regards as evil, God could care less about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she just nails it.
Ends up with Blue Skies, which I suppose in a sense is a calm after the storm, really.
We were cast into the current, as were the last words that he wrote. You only get to keep the things that you refuse to let go. You can cross every sea, searching for a new sky. But then just there you'll be.
Yeah, we wanted to end the album. It was very important. Again, the idea of putting Blue Sky last was, it was either putting Blue Sky first or Blue Sky last in a way. But What I Lost was such a much more proper intro. And this was just, it kind of sums up the whole record, in many ways. It's sort of this idea of this constant searching, this constant, looking for, the idea of hope that we were talking about, the idea of constantly searching for something better, or, and not really appreciating what's right in your face, and, things being constantly torn away by currents of life, or, and so that it's really just coming down to the idea, just there you'll be, you're always just here. It doesn't matter. You have to learn to understand that. And it's very difficult for humans. I don't know why it is. It's certainly difficult for me to learn that lesson. I think we're always searching for it. And so that's the idea of this, with again, going back to the idea of impermanence. It's like the only thing that's not impermanent is right now. This is it, right? So that's sort of the idea.
You've got that same kind of acceptance to it. It's almost like a hymn. It's a little bit like 1,000-Year Prayer.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. I would agree with that. It is, yeah, it's just a little a little sort of reflection, I guess, a prayer or reflection, same thing.
It's a very kind of zen, beguiling end to the record.
Yeah, that's the idea. And again, the birds, that the birds just, that's all there. That's all in the recording. That was happening while we were recording this. Again, this recording comes from up north, up from the barn. Me and Margot sitting there, and so yeah, it's kind of. And again, I wanted to make sure that, because that was a really magical couple of months for the two of us, and so I wanted to make sure that was on the record. That sort of that vibe and that energy was on the record. So that's why it's done that way.
And then the next thing is playing it out live to people.
Well, that's going to be the tricky thing. That's the next thing. And, that's kind of fun too. It's a bit daunting at first. You have to figure out what you can and can't play on stage as far as instrumentation goes, and then what will come across. And then you sort of get through that part of it. And then you begin to, the songs then begin to evolve, and they go off in a different direction. And some songs that you thought you would never play live become your favorites. And it's kind of fun.
I know it's difficult when you've just done it and it's the closest thing you've done, but I mean, you must be proud of that record, because, as I say, I think it's, as they say in the magazines, it's a career highlight.
Oh, thank you. That's good. That's good to hear.
I think it genuinely is.
Oh, good. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, as we begin to talk about it and go through it song by song and remember the process, and from the writing to the recording to the mixing, and I am proud of it. It's like it was a lot of work. It was a lot of thought and a lot of energy from everybody, and right down to as you say, the album cover. Everything has been really thought through in an intelligent way. So I'm proud of it for that, for sure.
We're not quite finished with this celebration of such ferocious beauty yet, because next time around, it'll be Alan Anton's turn to give us his perspective on the record. Before then, if you haven't already ordered your copy of Such Ferocious Beauty, you can get it from all the usual outlets, including at cowboyjunkies.com. There are plenty of special editions to tempt you there. There are lots of new Junkies shows coming up across North America over the rest of the year. Keep checking the website for more news of those. Always go to the show. You'll get to hear the new songs, and, as always, the Junkies are the best value ticket on the planet. Please subscribe to the podcast, like it, share it, add your reviews, and do all the social media things that help us spread the word. Thanks so much for your support. We do really appreciate it. If you're a Spotify user, you can follow our growing podcast playlist, and all the details of that and everything else is in the show notes. We'll see you next time.
A memory wound with fear and grief, and I stuff it in my bag. We can spend all our nights searching for a blue sky, but then just there will be.
So, when's the next record out?
Yeah. Jesus.